if you can see me and hear me. I'm not going to start until I know. I was trying something, but it wasn't working. Wasn't working. Okay, yes, yes. Okay, I got one yes. Let me know if you can see me and hear me. All right, thank you, thank you, thank you. I see another yes. All right, hello, hello, hello. I'm trying to give everybody a chance to come back in. I was trying to do something technological, you know, trying to act like I'm a geek or something, and it didn't work. It didn't work. You know, I've been trying to go, you know, be a little more impromptu and go live just randomly like this here as I have thoughts. And so I thought to break in this afternoon just to deal with something. I had the great privilege of talking with, thank you all for coming in, invite some others to come in. I had the great privilege of talking with some teens the other day. I think their ages ranged from 12 to 18. And, you know, it was great. It was different because I'm used to talking to women, you know, 30 and up to 80 actually. So I had a chance to talk with them, and I talked to them about choices and consequences, because I was asked to come and to, you know, embrace them relative to the father-daughter talk. You know, a lot of them do not have fathers in place. And so this particular program that they're a part of, they asked me to come in and to do the father-daughter talk, just deal with the things that, you know, every girl should hear her father talk about. And so I thought to talk about, since the theme of their meeting was choices, I thought to deal with, you know, just the deeper meaning of choices. And as I was talking with them, quite honestly, I was thinking about the women that I talked to on a regular, which would be this community, and how some of the things I was saying to them are some of the very things that this community, you know, needs to hear. You know, your life boils down to your choices, and what is a choice? It is an act of selecting or making a decision when faced with one or more, two or more possibilities. Some of you right now today are in the grips of a decision-making moment. You have to make a choice. And the difference between a person that grows into a happy, healthy, successful, productive, and fulfilled woman versus a woman, or even a man for that matter, these principles apply, versus a person that struggles is often, most of the time, the choices they make. The choices they make. Now, our choices are driven by a number of things, probably too numerous for me to even attempt to list all of them, but a lot of times we make choices based on peer pressure, community pressure, you know, family, friends. We make choices based on emotional promptings. We make choices based on, you know, physical responses. You know, we feel something in a physical way, emotional way for a person, so we make certain decisions. And the outcome of your life, you have to understand, is about, really boils down to the choices you make. Now, here's the thing about choices. Here's the thing about choices. We make choices based on how we were educated. We make choices based on the examples we were raised around. But here's the thing about choices. All of us are free to make our choices. You can choose the choice, if that's the right way to say that or not, but we cannot choose the consequences. We make the choices, and then the choices in turn make us. We make the decision, we choose what we chose, but we can't choose the consequences of the choice we made. Now, let's look at this, the deeper meanings of choices. And remember now, just think about the context. I'm talking to, I wish I knew how to cut. I wish I need to become more educated technologically, because I don't know how to cut this bell off. But here we go. I'm talking to a group of teens, and I'm, trying to prepare them for life. And they're sitting there staring at me with, in utter silence, just completely silent. And I'm sitting here trying to talk to these young kids, these young girls, about things that will serve them in life. And the first thing I say to them is that your choices, and we went through all of the thing about, you're free to make the choices you make, but you're going to have to accept the consequences of those choices. And here's the first thing I say to them. Your choices, or your choice, is a reflection of your level of understanding about life. Your choice is a reflection of your level of understanding about life. We can look at the choices you make, and we may deduce from those choices, looking at the choices and then the consequences, it lets us know how much you actually understand about life. I say to men, whenever I get an opportunity to talk to brothers, the reason a man finds it unbelievable that I, as a man, would value my fidelity or faithfulness to my wife, and I hold true to my marital vows, and I'm not a man that cheats, or you ain't gotta worry about me slipping no numbers to nobody. I'm going home to one woman. I've been going home to her for 28 years now. The reason they don't get that is because they don't understand life. Because the more you understand life, the better your choices become. See, like, even as a woman, I got to be careful what I say, because y'all canceling everybody. Now, can't nobody tell y'all the truth without y'all canceling them now. So y'all got me scared to talk on here almost. Not really, though. Y'all know that. But you can look at how much you're actually learning about life from the decisions you're constantly making. If you're still making the same decisions and your choices are mirroring at 30, you don't understand much about life. If you're at 40 years old and you're still making the same kinds of decisions, your mind and your brain are still working the same way as it worked when you was a 25-year-old woman, you're growing old, but you're not growing up. I pause because I want you to really ponder that. If you can tell if you're growing up by the choices you make. When I was 25 years old, my credit was horrible. Didn't pay any bills on time. You know what I mean? Had bills stuck in the drawer. Wasn't, you know, signing all these little applications, getting all this credit, buying all this stuff, not paying these people back. Credit shot. As I grew up and I began to understand more about life, my choices got different. I stopped accepting every application people gave me in the mall for another credit card. I started paying attention to my bills and making certain that they're paid on time. I stopped walking around, with diamond rings on and broke. My choices changed as my understanding about life elevated. So now let me ask you a question, like I asked these young girls. If you were sitting in the privacy of your own home, office, car, hotel room, airplane, wherever you might be watching this, if you had to rate yourself in terms of your maturity and development, simply based on the choices, the kinds of choices you make, how would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being you ain't learning nothing about life, 10 meaning you get in the full experience and you're learning and growing. You don't have to actually answer that. But a choice is a reflection of your level of understanding about life. Proverbs 6:32 says, but whoever commits adultery with a woman lacks common sense and sound judgment and an understanding of moral principles. He who would destroy his soul does it. What is he saying here? He's saying a person that lacks understanding, he uses the specific occasion of adultery. He says with a woman lacks common sense and sound judgment. You can look at your behavior and the consequences you consistently get, and you may be able to determine how much you're actually understanding about life. This is why parents make decisions for minor children. 8.5 is pretty good. This is why parents make decisions for minor children. It's because minor children have not had enough life experience to understand the backlash of certain choices. That's exactly right. The Apostle Paul said, when I was a child, I spoke like a child, behaved like a child. But when I grew up, I put away childish things because what? I'm understanding more about life. So there are some of you that are watching me right now. You don't really need a relationship right now. You really need to go and do some introspection, and you need to really revisit your decision-making process, because your choices are a reflection that you are not really understanding much about life. The second thing I said to them, let's see, the evidence, your choices are the evidence of your self-love. When you don't love yourself, we can see it in the choices you make. When you do love yourself, we can see it in the choices you make. Because self-love is indicative of valuing yourself. Thank you, Sandra. It's indicative of believing in yourself. It's indicative of knowing where you want to go with your life. And so when you are really loving yourself, there are certain decisions you make that transcend your emotions or, whatever. Like for instance, I always talk about, and it's a very real thing for women. Women enter into relationships almost with an immediate emotional attachment, unless they've been taught better. But when a woman falls for a man, there's like this, there's this real serious emotional attachment. She's all in from the inside out. While the man many times is just about a biological function. For him, it's about sex. And so when it doesn't work out, the woman is faced, thank you, Rose. The woman is faced with the challenge of letting go. And it becomes hurtful. And I get it. I've talked with enough women, I understand it. It becomes hurtful to actually think about letting go. So there's a pain that's attached to, to letting somebody go that you thought was the one, would be your future, would be your husband. There's a very real emotional pain. Thank you, Sandra. That goes along with actually letting go. So many times women do not relinquish, they don't let it go soon enough because it hurts so much. But when a woman has gone through this enough and has really learned the lessons of life and has developed a self-love, she comes to the conclusion that the pursuit of one that is running from me is not it's not equivalent to my self-respect. So she makes a different choice. She chooses her pain. She makes the choice to endure the pain of letting go versus maintaining a grip on this situation and ultimately losing herself. But that's the thinking of a woman that loves herself. That's the thinking of a woman who knows her future is bright and understands that, relationships have expiration dates, but you can never divorce who you are from the inside out. But you can't make a decision like that until you really love you. See, when you really love you, you can let anybody go. Oh, that's good right there. Oh my goodness. Let me see something. Let me drink some water on that. You cannot, when you love you, you can let anybody go. Because the only person you attach to for the rest of your life is you. And you can't disconnect from you trying to stay connected to somebody that never was connected to you. So you have a what? You have a choice to make. But you can only make this choice when you have a very real vision. Somebody asked the question, where do you start with self-love? Well, it starts with you. Most of us, like I was engaged and involved in relationships from a kid. You know what I'm saying? I had a child at 15 years old. So I was involved in relationships from a kid. The first time I had the occasion to really focus on me and spend time with me, learning me, working on me was somewhere in my 20s. This was, when God was doing something with me right before, Lisa and I. Most people never get to that point. Most of us go all the way up in our 40s and 50s and never really have a season where we allow ourselves to be alone and to focus on ourselves. You can't love yourself until you know yourself. And like, if you're going to get to know somebody else, you got to spend time with them. You have to pay attention to them. And so it is with developing self-love. You gotta take the time, stop rushing and stop trying to involve people in your world and just relax into the situation and get a chance to know you, figure out what you like, what you don't like. What are your issues? What do you need to work on? What do you need counseling for? What do you need to think through? What do you need to learn? What do you need to improve about you? That's where self-love begins. It becomes with an understanding of who you are, and more importantly, where you want to go. And the Bible puts it this way in Proverbs 29:18, where there is no vision, no revelation of God in his word, the people are unrestrained. Where there is no vision, the King James says, the people perish. So when you come to an age where you continue to make choices that hurt you, it is a sign that you have not really come to a place where you love yourself enough. And what's probably going on is you're viewing your self-esteem and your identity as being attached to people, places, things. So you go and you exhaust all of your credit cards for labels because that's where you think your value comes from. Or, you play the fool for men because you think that's where your value comes from. Or you bend over backwards to be a part of some so-called sisterhood that is toxic towards you because that's where you believe your value is. But when you really come to a place where you understand that you are the most important character in, the script of your destiny, it's then that you begin to develop the self-appreciation that will shift the way you think and the choices you make. Now, letter C. Is my connection pretty good? Is my connection all right? Is my connection all right? Because I'm working off of this phone here. Lord have mercy. All right, good. Letter C. Deeper meanings of choice or choices. Your choice or your choices are a sign. Let's see. It is a sign of your being manipulated by your negative choices, or many times the sign of your being manipulated by the will of someone else. It looks like you're making the decision, but the reality is there are puppet strings that are attached to your back. And what's really going on is that you're being manipulated. And there's some of you that are on here right now who are being manipulated. And all of us, it doesn't matter what the age, we all, if we're not paying attention, may be manipulated by someone else's will. Even though we do the acts, we make the choice and we bear the consequences, it was somebody else's will that manipulated us into certain decisions. And so this is where I do. If you haven't looked, search for some of my teachings on soul ties. This is where soul ties become so significant. And some say, I don't believe in that. Well, each his own. I do believe in soul ties. I've been involved in a few. When you have a soul tie, it's like this person can just push these invisible buttons and get you to do whatever they desire you to do. When you have a soul tie, a person can sit at their home or at their office and post something on social media that they know you're going to be hawkeyeing and trigger certain reactions in you that put you exactly where they wanted you to be from the beginning. That's how easily, many times, we are manipulated when we lack self-perspective and when we lack self-love and when we've not really grown up and taken ownership of our own lives. Because your choice, some of you right now, the choice you just made is a sign that you are being manipulated by the will of someone else. Man, let me tell you something. I used to think, that I was running game, and when I was a young man out here, womanizing and playing and doing all this kind of stuff. But some of them women had me as on lock as I thought I had them. Honestly. I mean, honestly. man, they could be in a whole crowd of people. A woman could be in a whole crowd of people and just look a certain way. I'm telling you. And boy, there I am. I'm gone. Come on now. Just manipulated, managed. Come on, somebody. And this is a reality, but our choices, the choices you're making right now, I want to ask you a question. How many of those choices are authentically yours versus the manipulations of someone else? You're not in a relationship. You're not even, you've advanced beyond, or you've sunken even below a situationship. You are presently in a manipulationship. And your choices are the evidence that there's somebody else that's actually. In Proverbs chapter 7, verses 21 through 23, it says, with her much fair speech, she caused him to yield. With the flattering of her lips, she forced him. He goeth after her straightway as an ox goeth to the slaughter, or as a fool to the correction of the stocks, till a dart strike through his liver, as a bird hasteth to the snare, and knoweth not that it's for his life. But it talks here about how a woman, through just using words and flattery, forced a man to make moves and decisions and choices that were to his own demise. People can manipulate you. A person doesn't have to get aggressive and grab you and put their hands on you for you to understand that they're manipulating you. Sometimes a person is smiling and they have a seemingly pleasant demeanor, and a whole while you think they're making you feel good, they're positioning you for a manipulationship. And usually this is the result. This happens because we make certain choices where we're manipulated by someone else because we either feel afraid of them or we feel obligated to them. We're afraid many times that if we don't do what they want us to do, they're going to leave us. That's not a relationship. That's a manipulationship. And so we're afraid of being left, and we're afraid of abandonment, and we're afraid of all of these things, or we feel obligated. Narcissists can position you many times in a place where you feel a false sense of obligation to fulfill someone else's desires and needs. And so you empty your whole life trying to fulfill somebody else's will, and they're never satisfied. But all you got to do, look at your choices. Look at the money you've wasted on this individual. Look at the time you've given them. Is this something you would normally do as a well-adjusted woman, or even a man if you're watching? Because there are women that manipulate men the same way. And all you got to do is look at your choices, and your choices are telling you plainly and clearly you're being manipulated. Bishop, has been 2 years, no contact made. The mistake of reading a message from him because he texted from a new number. He told me I still have him blocked, so I'm still in my feelings. You know what? Get out your feelings and remember. Get out your feelings. This is one occasion where you need to get out your feelings and get into your head and remember. Sometimes all you need to do to overcome those moments is just pause and remember. And I'm not talking about no nostalgic memories, because usually when we're in a situation like that, we have all of these nostalgic memories. We remember the best days. We remember, how, we fell in love, and we remember how this was great, and he smelled, and she walked, and he talked. And we forget about the police coming every weekend. We forget about, you know what I'm saying, how they ruined my credit, stole all my money. We forget about how they wrecked all my relationships, and we forget about how they almost destroyed my health. So I need you to get out your feelings and get back into your right mind. And just remember. And if you remember, I promise you, all that stuff gonna dissipate. I promise you. It's just, whoop, you go, oh yeah, okay, I'm back to life, back to reality. Now, letter D. Remember, remember, remember. Remember to remember. Your choices let you know where your mindset is. You know, like I'm from a different generation. I accept that, you know. I'm trying to do a good job of accepting the fact that I'm getting older and I'm from a different generation, because in my mind I'm 30 years old, you know. I really am in my mind. So sometimes it's a challenge for me, but I accept the fact that I'm from a different generation, and I see some of the stuff that younger people do, and I'm like, what were you thinking? You know, when you did this to your hair, what were you thinking? When you did that to your hair, when you came out your house dressed like this, what were you thinking, son? Tell me what you was thinking. You know, just help me out. And then when I see people that's old as me doing the same stuff as these kids are doing, I'm really like, are you thinking at all? At least young folk just trying to fit into what's trending. What in the world are you out here 50-some years old trying to wear this stuff that you see these little boys wearing? Like these boys wear these little tight pants. Man, I don't even know how they anatomically do that. It just looks painful to me. But that's what they do. Your choices, from the way you dress to the way you handle your money, to the way you keep your car, is an indication of your mindset. Like there's a friend of mine whose car, I'm just not gonna ride in his car. It's filthy. This dude's car is filthy all of the time. Filthy. When I say filthy, I mean filthy. You know, I mean just cups and bags. I'm not riding in that, because I'm trying to figure out what must be going on in your head to make a decision to allow your car to get this nasty. Because your choices are the indicator of your mindset. Your choices are an indication that your choices are the indicator of, or it helps you, should I say, let you know where your mindset really is. Now listen to what Proverbs 7 says, for as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Whatever going on in your head is going to manifest on the canvas of your life. So look at your life. Okay, what was the point? Letter E, your choices are the indicator, or rather your choices let you know where your mindset is. Look at your life and look at your choices and watch this. While many times we're trying to blame systems and people, and a lot of times people and systems are a problem when we're having issues in life, the greater portion of your issues or issue comes from the choices you're making. Your choices let you know where your mindset is. Because your mind is set there, your life always falls to that place. That's just where your mindset is. If I can't change your mindset, I can never establish your life on any level above where your mind is set. Now, your life may peak above it, but it ain't gonna stay there. It's gonna always fall back to where your mindset is, and you know where your mindset is by the quality or the lack thereof of your choices. See? Now, let's see, letter E. And I think I'm done here, y'all. Letter E. Your choices are the indicator of your likely future. I'm almost willing to say it's pretty definite. Your future is never going to outweigh your choices. Your choices are the indicator of your likely future. You make your choices, and then your choices make you. So this is why, this is some of what I mean by, we got to do some personal work. Because if, you're always going to be able to locate your level within anything based on the decisions you make. You're always going to be able to find your level based on your decisions. When my life is not working, I start looking at the decisions I made. Like when I go to the doctor, everybody know I'm trying to get myself together, man. I really want to live a long time, and I really would love to live a healthy life. I just can't see myself being here and not being a healthy place where I can function and do what I need to do. Well, my health, when I go to the doctor, is always watch this, a direct reflection of the choices I made the 3 months or the 6 months I was away from my doctor. If I know that, for the last 6 months I've been away from my doctor, I haven't eaten right, I haven't dieted, I've been consuming a whole lot, haven't been getting enough sleep. I already know. I know what the blood work gonna say. I know what doc's gonna say. I know what the numbers are gonna say, because your choices are always a direct reflection of your outcomes. You're getting outcomes that are reflective of your choices. You want to act like, you're getting these outcomes because of somebody or something else. The reality is you're getting these horrific outcomes because you have bad choices. You have bad choices because your mind needs to be reset. Who set your mind where it's set? How long has it been set there? And how do we reset it? Well, we reset it by having conversations like this. You check your circle out and you see if your circle is, if you've got a comparable circle to a level that you're trying to move away from. You got to love them, but you got to elevate at the same time. You got to get a new circle and find people that inspire you, and educate yourself and put yourself in environments that challenge you. That's how you reset your mind. See, when you was a child, you had no power or control over what adults or guardians poured into you. So a lot of times they poured untruths into us. They gave us things that, were not honest. But when you become grown, you're responsible for your own parenting. You got to parent yourself now. So now you got to be able to look at your life and say, I didn't get what I needed from my mom or my dad, but now I'm looking at my life. This is where I desire to go, but this is where my mind is set. These are the choices I'm making. So I got to change the mindset to change the choices, to change the outcomes. And that's your responsibility. But you got to be willing, you got to be willing to hear truth, though. Too many of us, we good with it until the finger of the truth, thank you, TC, I appreciate you, points at us and says, you your own problem. When somebody tells you truth like that, that holds you accountable, then now the world's in an uproar. We're going to cancel you. We're going to do this. We don't like you no more. The reality is people that are usually in a position to tell you that they got their lives together. You got to come to a point now when you look at your choices and you realize all of this stuff is wrong in your life because of the choices you're making, because of the mindset you have. You got to be willing now to hear hard truth. The Bible says in Proverbs 17:10, a quiet rebuke to a person of good sense does more than a whack on the head of a fool. Hosea 4 and 6 is a text we recite a lot in the church, but we don't get the full picture. He says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. We stop right there, but it goes on to say, because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject you. It's not that knowledge wasn't available. It's that you rejected knowledge. That's how you 40 years old and still making the same dumb decisions you made when you was 20. That's how you 40 years old, still choosing the same kind of man that you chose when you was 20. You've rejected knowledge. And you cut me off when I started talking like this. Every time you cut me off. Every time you cut me off. Whenever I go to really dealing with some hard truth, you cut me off. And you don't come back for a few months. Praise the Lord. All right, I got to go. It's almost 5 o'clock. I got to go. Listen, don't forget, tonight, 8 o'clock, man, I'm talking about, tonight I'm dealing with some stuff relative to how a woman may know that a man, how this might be the one. And we're talking about some intangible test that a woman can bring a man through without a man even really knowing that he's being tested. Why? Because it's the man's job to pursue the woman, but it's the woman's job to approve of the man. Well, the stuff we're going to lay out for you tonight is the kind of stuff that you need to understand about. And so I encourage you to meet me tonight for 8 o'clock. It's going to be all right. I promise you it is. And invite someone to come in and to be a part of our discussion tonight. If this did not work well, it's because I'm not technologically savvy and I don't have anybody around me to help me right now. So I just had the unction to share this with you all. And yeah. So hopefully it came out all right. Listen, I love you all. I will see you tonight. Don't forget to go to rcblakes.com, sign up for the mailing list. Those of you that need counseling, BetterHelp counseling, look in the description. There's a link for BetterHelp counseling. It'll get you 10% off of the cost if you use the link of the counseling, and they'll make a deposit into RC Blakes Ministries. Now, I love you all. I'll see you tonight. Also, Lisa is looking into, I think she may have established a Patreon for, when I come on here, Patreon is a platform where people that are really connected to you can connect with you off of the platform. It's more personal and it's less drama. When I come on here, we got all kinds of people that can come through here and do whatever. Patreon is a little more controlled. And so a lot of these impromptus and, when we're done with the Monday night Let's Talk thing, many times it's in Patreon that Lisa and I'll come probably live and answer questions and just kind of hang out in a more relaxed kind of way, kind of similar to how I am now, just relaxed without all of the other stuff. So be listening for that. Be looking out for that. May see some information in the chat tonight about Patreon for those of you that are familiar with that particular platform. A lot of creators and what have you have Patreons to be able to connect more directly and personally with people that really support them. We have all kinds of people on here, so yeah, I love y'all. I'll see you tonight, 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you again for all of the support.